Good morning. Hey, y'all. Hey. Hey, this is Alicia from Country Mama Musings, and I'd like to welcome you all into the show. It is a beautiful Tuesday morning. Let's get together and chat about everything that's going on. Who else do we got in the show this morning?
Well, good morning, Alicia, my friend. This is Casey over at Ormsby Farms.
And I'm here too. It's Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch. Now, we had a very exciting Monday and we had a very exciting announcement yesterday morning that I know I even had people asking me about that I know, like just friends of mine. So I think we're going to show you what that announcement is. Maybe in a second, because we all saw it yesterday a few times.
I want to know in the comments.
Yeah, and you can go back to our channel and actually watch it there. You can go back to Around the Hay Bale over there on YouTube and see it there. Or you can click in the here. I know we put it in here. So definitely go check it out if you're not going to stick around.
About it.
But yeah,
I was so excited about it. Yeah. I mean, I kind of like giggled and squealed as I was watching it because we've been keeping the secret for a couple weeks now.
Well, some of us have. Some of us have loose lips that sink ships. Who remembers the ketchup commercial from back in like the 70s and 80s? Anticipation. Like everybody's waiting for this big announcement in our morning show, and we're waiting for it to actually hit so we can share it with you here. But I'd like to know over in the comments if you were able to catch that big news on the Round the Hay Bale channel that we put up on YouTube. If you were able to catch that, don't give it away, but comment if you were able to see that. And if not, we'd love for everybody to go over and see that, but after the radio show, because we're going to share it here in just a second. We're having just a little bit of drag and delay in uploading, but we do want to share it with you here. So we're just kind of waiting. Casey's driving the bus.
And you know that bus is definitely on the struggle side.
We're always got a little bit of struggle, but that's okay because it's going to be worth the wait.
Because we have that good old Homesteading internet.
Yeah. Tuesday morning struggle is real. It's really most people are a Monday morning struggle. Honestly, Monday morning has definitely had a hard time past couple weeks for me, but I feel like Tuesday, after I finish the morning show, my day just goes off without a hitch. But man, sometimes in the morning, I'm just dragging.
I hear you. Hey, Casey, are you still dragging over there, or do you have something exciting to share?
We have something really exciting, and it's so exciting that even the internet is saying processing and exciting. That is how exciting this information is. But without further ado, here's our announcement. Hi, friend.
Hi, friend. Hey, I have a great idea. We need to get for our podcast.
Friend, that's a great idea. Wait, let me call Monica.
Hey, Casey.
Hi, Monica. So Alicia had a great idea. She thinks we should add to the podcast.
Oh my goodness, that's a great idea. Hold on, let me make a phone call.
Hello?
Hey, Dale. We want you to join us for the rest of season 4 on the podcast. What do you think?
Oh, Monica, thank you. I would love to, because we just want you to be ready. That's right. We want you to be ready. I'm Ann from Andale Homestead, and what a thrill it is to join these beautiful people here on Round the Hay Bale podcast season 4.
We're so excited. Like, I think I just giggled and squealed a little bit also rewatching it, even though that I've watched this video probably 4 billion times while it's being edited. But every time it just gets me. It gets me.
Yes.
Yeah, we loved it too. My kids were like, that's so fun. I was like, I know. I love it.
Poor things. It was such a buildup. I certainly don't want to disappoint anyone by it actually being me. But what a thrill to be able to be here with all of you. And the topics that we talk about and discuss help us in our daily lives. It helps us in our preparations. And it just answers some questions that you might have as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, for the people that are listening, we pre-shoot a lot of our episodes. So we have been blessed to be able to be shooting with Miss Ann for probably the past couple of weeks. And the topics have been really, really good, fresh topics that are a must listen for the fall.
Absolutely. And don't you ever sell yourself short and think that you would not be able to contribute. You are wonderful. Everybody loves listening to the advice that you have, and you are just a breath of fresh air to
Thank
the podcast and to the radio show this morning. We're so glad that you were able to join us this morning as well. So it's all good. It's all fun. And we are just so happy that you're here with us. Now, I'm
Thank
going to switch gears a little bit from the happiness to another expression of joy and happiness and housekeeping, actually, because I do want to share with everybody here on the radio show this morning. If you're a member of our group on Facebook, our Beginning Homesteader group, we are over 67,000 members strong in that group, and it is a
Woohoo.
very active group. We are so thrilled with all of you that are in that group. And if you're not in that group, please head on over to Facebook and join the group. There's just a little membership questionnaire you have to fill out. And I know it irritates some people, but that's really to keep the trolls out. So there's a reason why we have it in place. It's for your safety. So just fill that out and then come on over and join us in that group as well. And this is where we get our comment call outs for our radio show, is we get it from that group. So the more active you're on that group, we might call something out that's going to help not only you, but help the other members of the group as well as our listeners. But we had to do something that is, like I said, a little bit of housekeeping. And we have so many of you that want to share your content. You're content creators, you have your YouTube channels or Instagram or TikTok, and you want to share all of those videos, and we love them.
Yes.
But it was really starting to clog the news feed. So what we've done, and we want everybody to pay attention, what we've done is we have designated a specific post on Friday mornings. That post will hit on Friday mornings and say, share your videos here. And you can comment on that post and share the links to your videos. And that way people are able to click on them there and watch. We ask that you only do 2 videos in that thread per week. So it doesn't clog up. So that's where we want you to share all of your new content. And we're even going to be adding a little graphic so it'll be easy to see. Monica has worked really hard on creating some really cute graphics about where to drop your video. So we're going to be adding that as well. But that's where we want all of them to go. However, there's a very important caveat. If somebody in the group posts something, I'm going to throw something. I'm going to say, let's say they have a post asking a question about sheep, and you have a really good video about tending to sheep, you can put that video in the comment of that thread. You can do that. It doesn't have to wait till Friday. If they've asked a serious question and you have something that can help them and it is content related, put it in the comments and say, hey, I hear what you're saying about having the problem with your lamb. I did a video on that, and I'm hoping this will help you. Here's the link. That's what we want you to do. So it all becomes relative and helpful to each other. So we appreciate you guys helping us on that. And we really look forward to your content. Keep it coming. The content you guys have been sharing is absolutely
Yes,
great.
absolutely. It's been wonderful content. So great job, y'all.
Yeah. So that little bit of housekeeping, but you know what? We're just going to roll right into.
It's time for
Do-do-do-do.
Subscriber comment call out. Pew pew pew.
It never gets old.
Okay, so
No.
I think we're starting with Lee Johnson, right? Is that what you said? Okay, I see it right there. So Lee Johnson posted an idea. He said, so I was thinking of an idea like a homesteading expo, having people out on the property, people showing their skills. Maybe someone can even canning, showing how to trap, etc. Is this a thing? And what do you think about it? And, what do you guys think? Why don't we start talking and do something? Okay, So, based on this idea, Lee, I think this is a great idea. And I tagged you on this, so hopefully you can come and listen. So, just so you know, depending on where you're at, they have these type of things all over the place, or at least I think they're starting to pop up. Now, this is something we have done here, here in Northeast Texas. And people are welcome to come from anywhere. As a matter of fact, I have John and Sarah, probably John, because I think he's usually the one from Two Doves, Bees, and Gardens in here. And he is one of the ones that have gotten together with myself and a few other YouTubers that we know. And we are getting together to do another one of our skill shares here in Texas, in the Northeast Texas area, actually in Mesquite. And we're going to be doing that in the first week of November. And so information is going to be coming out on that soon. But that's the type of stuff we do. We get together, we talk about maybe how do you make money on a homestead. We're going to start having themes on these. So we're going to know how to share these skills. And we call it a skill share. And the things that we're doing is we're sharing the skills, sharing the ideas, how to process animals, if that's something you want to do or something you need to know how to do. We talk about how to raise bees. We've talked about how to bake breads. We've talked about all these different things, medicinal herbs, how to grow certain herbs. And we've already had 2 of these in the past year, and it has been amazing. So Lee, I encourage you that if there's not something like this in your area, figure out who else is in your area and get started. It's not hard. You just have to find a space. And if you have your own space, go for it. I think this is a great idea. And I know in the Northeast Texas area, there are a few different places that you can reach out to, places you can go. There is a big like homesteading online forum. And they do basically they do what's called what are they called? They call it something where basically they go and they have 10 people per learning activity, and they set them up each month, these monthly learns. And it's amazing. You can sign up. You pay a small fee to go and you learn at somebody's house. We had people over to our house last year, and we taught them how to process rabbits. So there's so many things you can do. You just need to find a group of people that you can work together with and start. And I think it's great that he reached out here and asked about this, because
Oh,
this
absolutely.
is a big forum. I mean, golly, Casey, if we could do a beginner's homesteading guide
Expo.
I mean, that would be fantastic. It would be phenomenal. But
Can I also just say how cool this photo is? I know this is the new high-techy 3D
it's
photo.
the 3D photo.
And it is pretty cool. Sorry, I'm over here like a little child.
No, I
with my
love it.
mouse on it.
But I think that was a great way to get people's attention. And
Absolutely.
Lee, you are a smart guy. And I know that if you need to reach out to me and ask me some questions about how with some of the things we did, definitely do it. I was really excited about this post, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I need to address this. I need people to know that this is definitely a thing.
Yeah, I was about to say a
Right.
lot of the smaller ones are popping up. I know my friend Christina over at Hilltop Gardens, she's in Tennessee, and she just did one on processing chickens. And basically your fee to go and learn from this expo got you a chicken. So I think that was really, really cool to have these little ones pop up, because not everybody can always afford to go to the big expos and to pay the hundreds of dollars.
And that's where I like where Monica uses the term Skillshare. I really like that. I prefer that more than the word expo. Expo to me personally speaks of large crowds, lots of stuff, lots of vendors, lots of tables. I like Skillshare. I really like the way that sounds. And Miss Ann, didn't you just recently go to
I
a
did.
get-together?
It was a YouTube meetup, but they did have speakers all day long sharing their skills, sharing what they do in the garden, sharing what they do at the nursery, those types of things. And we're really grateful here. I happen to be at the Grand's home today in Sneads Ferry, North Carolina, and they are going tomorrow to a little STEM class where they're going to learn about solar power. They learn about making your own light and lamps and things like that. And they have art classes and so forth. But when it comes to homesteading, there is an opportunity potentially for me to be able to step in and help. I can teach them how to can. Monica, you did that. I can teach them how to vacuum seal. I can teach them some life lessons.
Miss Ann, for our listeners who don't know, what does the acronym STEM stand for? Do you know
It's
off the top of your head?
mm-mm.
I see
No.
it. I've seen making it. And it's like, I don't know what that means.
It's science teaching something mentors.
It's
But
science, technology, engineering, and math.
thank you.
Nice.
And it's those core, it's an acronym for, those core 4 things that really emphasize innovation, problem solving, those things, critical thinking, all those things. Yeah.
Oh, that's
great.
great, because our library posted something the other day and it's like, I don't even know what that is. And they didn't tell anybody what STEM stood for. And it's like, you're not going to bring in more people if you don't say what it is. I
Right.
could have
Well,
looked it up, but I didn't
yeah,
know what it was.
that kind of scares people when you talk about all those big words,
Yeah.
engineering and mathematics and all those kinds of things. And they're like,
I know
that
I
ain't
know
gonna
there's an 8-year-old out there that could school me on what STEM means.
Absolutely, absolutely. But it's learning through fun. It's not learning through beating you over the head kind of thing.
Well, I think though that's really the important thing about one of the things Lee pointed out, but one of the things that we do at these skill shares is that we really try to make it as hands-on as possible. So
Yeah.
if we have 5 presenters, then we have at least 3 or 4 of them or at least 3 of them that are, speaking as a presenter with hands-on things, but you have at least 2 other ones or at least one other one where we're actually doing a hands-on learning. In the very first one we did with some friends here in Texas, we went down towards Tyler, Texas, and we had so many hands-on different things. We had a person come in and talk about first aid. You go up there and touch all the first aid. We had Jake from Nunya, Texas on the back 20. He showed us what was in his bug out bag,
Awesome.
what he does. And we did hands-on canning. We actually processed meat right there, came inside, and then we had like a can off between myself and my electric canner and another person, which was Jake's sister, with her regular canner. And
Awesome.
we actually figured out whether or not the electric canner or the regular can, the stovetop canner, which one was faster, if they were going to be faster, what the comparison between them were. And everyone there got to see it right in front of them. It was hands-on. It was a few hours during that day. I mean, it was several hours, but it was amazing. And we were able to share together. We were able to talk together, but it's so much bigger than just, oh, hey, let's just go meet people and say hi. And,
Yes.
and really smaller is better in that sense.
Right.
But it was great. It was absolutely the most amazing thing. And we've had another one since then, and it was just as good. And I'm really excited for the next 2 because we're actually going to be topic geared. So you can come and know you're going to learn about a certain topic, and we're going to do hands-on things. And those skill shares are amazing. So Lee, I encourage you wherever you are.
Yes. And I think these are so
Part
important
one.
because you're not necessarily just learning skills. It's also fellowship, as you were saying.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
We got to
That's-
eat. Whenever you eat with people, you just make friends.
That's right.
Always serve
exactly.
And to piggyback off of the whole skill share thing, another way that you could even look at it, and it depends on your geographical area, but what's really popular where I live, and I love it, and if it weren't for this venue, I would not even have my farm right now, is our area has an annual farm crawl. So if you know what like a pub crawl is, where you just go to like one pub and you meet people, have a drink, and go to the next pub, this is a farm crawl.
Cool.
You go to a farm, and the people who live on the farm, they host. You come in, they take you around their farm, they show you their gardens, their animals, they tell you what they do on their farm. You can come and go as you please, and then you follow the map and you go to the next farm that's participating, and
That
they will
is
have something
awesome.
different that they share. And sometimes you can get a little something or a goodie bag. You don't have to, but I know that when I did my first farm crawl, we had bobbing for apples. There was someone there that was selling buffalo meat, because they have a buffalo farm from out of the area, but they brought their goods in with them. We were able to learn all about their chicken keeping and their big, huge garden. They had a big greenhouse. It was lovely. And then we went to the next farm, and then we went to the next farm, and some had goats and did soap. Some grew Christmas trees. They had a Christmas tree farm. Some grew their own wheat and showed you. They actually had classes. They built a little lodge on their farm where they teach you how to, grind your own wheat and bake your own bread. And they have wreath classes for all of the stuff that they have with their Christmas tree farm. And so we went to like 6 or 7 little farms on this farm crawl, and it's a lot of fun. And that is a great way to incorporate your neighbors that have homesteads, and you can get all involved in it. But the great thing is it pulls in the people from the towns, from the cities that don't necessarily live on a homestead, but they can appreciate the process. And that plants the seed. They can go back to their suburban home and say,
Mhm.
you know what, I'm going to start a little garden, or I'm going
Right.
to check with my city to see if I can get 2 little chickens. So
Mhm.
it's a great way to not just meet up with other homesteaders or
Mhm.
others who are looking for those same skills. It kind of branches out a little bit more. So I encourage you to look into a farm crawl as well.
Also, another resource, because a lot of us say, well, you'll find people at your church or you'll find people at youth gatherings. We're also separated now because of social media. We kind of get in our car, go to the store, get back in our car, pull up in our driveway, come in our home. It's sometimes it's difficult to have that socialization. But if you go to a farmer's market, there are people around. We have different vendors at our little farmers market that we have on Wednesday afternoons and Saturday mornings. And the people that are growing and that are raising their animals and bringing their goods are so willing to share and to talk to you. And I've had several that have even offered to for me to come and visit their farms. So I think
Yeah.
Right.
that's
Well,
I'm in.
and if Lee visits a local farmer's market, it might not cost him anything to put up a little table and
Right.
say, we're going to be doing a skill share over at our farm. If you're interested, that could be a great way to get the word out, or even through the extension office, your local extension office.
Right.
Be a great way to
I'll
get the word
say,
out.
Angel, that was a great point that you made,
Absolutely.
because most of our subscribers know that we sell at Ormsby Farm at a farmer's market, and we have met really, really good friends
Right.
that are basically like-minded. And you're right; they're like, "Oh, you should come over to our farm. Let me
Yeah.
show you." It's like showing off your new puppy. You're so
Right.
proud of it, and you just want to show. But a lot of them have so much knowledge if you just sit and talk with them.
Right.
It's like listening to a podcast or watching a YouTube video,
It
because a
is.
lot of these local farmers, the older farmers that don't do social media, don't do all the new hoopla that we do, they have years and decades of
Oh,
experience to share with you,
yes.
and it's just a wonderful fellowship kind of chat. And I applaud you, Anne, for saying that, because yes, farmers markets are a wonderful place to meet and learn new skills.
Just be ready to have a very lengthy conversation because people
Right.
really enjoy talking about their places and their animals and things like that.
Well, there's nothing wrong with sharing what you're passionate about.
Absolutely.
And when you get into this type of homesteading lifestyle, you are passionate about it. And I think it's a great way to light the fire for people who, you light it in their hearts. They don't realize they might have a passion for it. They just don't know. They don't know where to go. They don't know who to talk to. And
Hmm.
having these types of venues, whether it be the farmers market or the skill sharing setup or an expo or a farm crawl, these are
Hmm.
all so important for everybody to light that little bit of a fire. I know it did for me.
Well, that's right.
So, Casey, who do we have next?
It's always, I love pressing this little button because we have a
It's time for
Do-do-do-do.
subscriber comment call out. Pew pew pew.
Can't help but laugh.
It makes me giggle every time. So next we have Lindsay Bernejo, and Lindsay has a very important question because many of us, coming up to the very end of our growing season for our summer crops, and she wants to know, what are some
Yep.
tips for helping tomatoes ripen off the vine faster? She says it's getting cold where I live, and it's almost time to go harvest all the green tomatoes. So
Hmm.
when I first started growing tomatoes here on my farm, I was really struggling with leaving the tomatoes on the vine because all of us here, and they really promote it. Like when you go to the store, it's like vine ripened tomatoes. Like it's this really great thing. And I was leaving my tomatoes out there until I thought they were ready. Several things would happen. Either they would ripen and I wouldn't be there at the right time, and then they would fall and they'd split when they hit,
Hmm.
or the birds would get them, or the squirrels would get them. Something was always getting my tomatoes except for me.
Hmm.
And someone had shared with me, they said, you once they start to blush, once they start getting just that little bit of color, you can pick them and you can take them in your house, put them on the counter in a cool, dark corner on your countertop, and they will ripen up naturally all on their own.
Hmm.
And so you
Right.
can
Right.
that. And I started doing that. It's like I was amazed at how well that worked. And I didn't lose a lot of my crop to the animals anymore. So as long as it's not in direct sunlight, that's what I've learned. Or you can put them up in a windowsill as long as they're not getting like baked by the sun all day. If you've got
Mhm.
a north facing window or something, you can do that. But set them up there and they will absolutely start to ripen up, and then you can do what you need with them.
I
And
do that. I do that with a lot of the tomatoes because, like you said, the animals don't get them. Or if you're organically growing, you don't want to spray the stuff where, worms don't get it and so on and so forth. And there are a lot of vegetables and fruits that will ripen off the vine so that you can get a bigger crop. We're doing it with pumpkins over here at Ormsby Farm right now. But for them to ripen faster, definitely make sure that it gets that sun, because even on the vine, I saw there was a comment that said remove the flowers and the leaves and that kind of stuff. That's because it ripens faster when there's no
competition.
shading or competition or any of that blocking
Right.
the tomato to get ripened. But I love ripening my tomatoes off the. Do all of us do that? Do we all, or do we wait them on the vine?
I do
Absolutely.
them off.
Yep. Now, I'm not a seasoned gardener. This is like my 4th year of gardening. So I called my aunt, and she gardened with my granddaddy. And I spoke to my cousins who gardened with their daddy. And they told me that what they would do with their green tomatoes is wrap them in newspaper, put them in a box, and stick them underneath the bed. And you would have tomatoes all winter.
Yep.
So that worked.
Wow, that
Yeah.
is a cool
That's
tip.
actually, I was going to say that too, Anne. That was what I was going to share. We did that last year and it works.
Really?
Just be careful how far you stuff it under your bed.
Yes.
We may have.
And remember it, you put it there.
I will
Yeah,
not
what's that
admit.
smell?
Yeah, I will not admit to anything
Yeah.
except for putting all my leftover tomatoes and my green ones in boxes. And then I stack the boxes very neatly, very kindly in my pantry. We call it the small pantry. And I can't say if there were smells or not, but I can say that I had tomatoes, fresh red tomatoes,
Yes.
all the way into the end of January last year.
Mhm, mhm.
Wow.
And
That's
there
Wow.
may be 1 or 2 fruit flies in your house if you don't watch them.
We
But
don't talk about those things, but yeah.
We don't talk about that here, Miss Andale.
We don't talk about
okay.
that or
You guys
rotten
have to
fruit
train
that
me,
may
you
have
know.
seeped through cardboard boxes
Right.
onto your
Little
floor and
added
made more
little-
Oh
work
no.
for you later. But we don't talk about that either.
And we don't talk about the mice that come in from the fields when the fields are being harvested, like what's going on in my home right now.
Oh,
It's
yes.
harvest season. They all run to the farm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would love all those little tomatoes under the bed.
Well, it's the same thing we did with we harvested our
Yes.
spaghetti squash a little early last year, and put it away. And like you were saying with the tomatoes, put it in, quote unquote, forgot about it, but they ripened beautifully
Right.
in a cardboard box. Like it
Mhm.
was wonderful. Like and this was my newbie gardening side of it, but when I harvested them, they were a little bit yellow. No, excuse me, a little bit green. And
Mhm.
when I opened it up, it was this beautiful bright yellow spaghetti squash. So there are a lot of veggies that do this, and that you can make sure that you get the most out of your garden, because gardening is a lot of work.
Right.
It's a lot of work, and you don't want to. I mean, yes, we feed the wilderness, but you want to feed your family first before you feed the squirrels.
That's right. Now, it is important to get them off the vine before a frost. A frost can turn them squishy. And we have found that when we're expecting a rainstorm or something like that, if anything is blushing in the least, we grab that off the vine,
Yep.
because the rainwater will cause your tomatoes to split, and it does kind of weaken the taste a little bit. The drier the plant, the more flavorful the tomato is.
Nice. And and that's a good point. And I'm glad you brought that up, Anne, is everybody needs to be aware. Pay attention to your local forecasts and find out when your first frost is going to hit. Make sure all of your fruit is in, all of your vegetables are in that can't tolerate that type of a frost. Also, if you've got let's say you have an abundance of green tomatoes and you don't want to put them all underneath the bed like Miss Ann and Monica have suggested, which I think is amazing. I'm going to try that. You can make green tomato chow chow or canned green tomatoes. There's all
Oh,
kinds
gosh,
of great
yeah.
things you can do with the green tomatoes. So don't think they're a lost cause just because they didn't ripen up.
Right.
There are
We made
all
verde.
kinds of things.
Yeah.
And
Verde.
I have done salsa verde with green tomatoes. I know that's blasphemy from certain people because they're like, no, that's got to be tomatillos. But I've
Blend
done
them if you have to.
I have a wonderful salsa verde recipe that I got from the Ball canning book for green tomatoes specifically. So,
Yep, we have several cans that we have canned this year and last year of tomato verde, and it's delicious.
I think it's unfortunate because so many have grown up with the thought or the concept that if it doesn't look exactly right, it's no good and you throw it out.
Mm.
And so a lot of people just don't know that there are so many things you can do with your bounty at different stages of harvest. So, like we said, don't just because it's green doesn't mean it's not any good. There are all kinds of things you can do with it. I love the idea of ripening them up wrapped in newspaper and under the bed. I think that's amazing. So, here's my key point in going with this. We've all been in different stages of our homesteading journey or our gardening journey, and we're still learning. I had never heard of that. So thank you guys for
Okay.
sharing that because I think that's amazing. I never knew that.
Yay! Well, it's old timey,
Mhm.
It's old timey, but it's a way to have tomatoes all year.
I
Yeah,
think it's
it is.
amazing.
Well, here you've got Janice said it where the Begin Homestead. She said, I'm going to try it. Maybe set an alarm on my phone to check them every few days. That would be a smart thing to
Yeah.
do. That would be a really smart thing to do, Janice. I am not that together. I don't have my life together like that. So I just left them in there, and I like the Two Doves, Bees, and Gardens. I don't know. I'm feeding the squirrels. Might come back around to feeding the family. Squirrel enchiladas. You know,
You have to have some of
Oh
those
my
tomatoes to make
goodness.
the tomato sauce. You have to have the tomatoes to make the enchilada sauce for your
exactly.
squirrel enchiladas.
Green enchilada sauce for your green squirrel enchiladas that you've already fed the
Does
squirrels.
does that require salsa verde or a red sauce? Anybody
It probably would be good with either one. I know rabbit is good
It's
with
one of those
probably.
versatile things.
Yeah,
Yes, it's
if
very
rabbit is, I'm sure
versatile.
squirrel is too. So I think you'll be
Kinda-
fine.
Yeah,
I will say though, you were talking about the imperfect, fruits and things like that, and the fruits of all of our labor. And this might be the perfect time to talk about how to get really beautiful fruit. And I say, Alzheimer.
All right.
With gardening season in full
Casey, do I
bloom,
have a
Calzyme certified organic products are just what your garden needs.
From fertilizing your orchards to feeding your soil, Calzyme's calcium-based fertilizer gives your plants the essential minerals they need to thrive.
Applying Calzyme to agricultural soils and waters has been proven to increase plant and crop yields while making vegetables and grains healthier and more nutritious.
In addition, Calzyme can help restore the nutrient balance in animals when they're fed plants grown using Calzyme in both soil and water.
To check out all of Calzyme's organic products, visit calzyme.com and use our promo code HeyBale for 10% off of your purchase.
And, speaking of Calzyme and speaking of tomatoes, I had the most beautiful crop of tomatoes last year. My harvest was amazing. Stina from Calzyme
Yes.
came out and visited the farm, and I showed her the difference. I did a controlled study. I grew some tomatoes with Calzyme and some without, and the difference was absolutely amazing. If you don't believe me, head on over to Calzyme, go find their Facebook page. She has videos of the visits that she did with us, and you will see the difference in our gardens using Calzyme. It is absolutely amazing. We
Gardens
swear by
and
it.
even fruit trees too. I know
Yeah.
me and Monica used it on fruit trees and fruit bushes, and it's just absolutely wonderful. So we always push it every episode, but it's because it works. It's because it's good.
I'm
So-
really looking forward to trying it this year.
Oh, and you're gonna love it.
You're-
You're gonna love it. You're gonna want to Calzyme the crap out of everything. That's kind of our logo, and that's crap with a K because
Oh.
Calzyme with a K. So you're just gonna want to
There you
Calzyme the crap out of your garden.
I'm still waiting for t-shirts, but I think also because we've been talking about that, I do need to probably play this.
Are you enjoying the Hay Bale topics? To learn more, click on our Linktree link to get all of our product recommendations, along with discount codes and more.
Just saying, head over to our Linktree link to find all of the information that we talk about. But I think it's time for us to do another one of our subscriber call outs. So I get to do my favorite thing and press the little funny button.
It's time for
Do-do-do-do.
Subscriber comment call out. Pew, pew, pew.
Every time he plays that, I imagine he's got he's looking towards the sky with his hands cupped around his face going, pew, pew, pew.
Oh, yeah. My one little line that made me popular on YouTube. Who would have thunked it?
Okay, but really cute though.
This one is from Susan Green, and it says, I live in the middle of town, so I'm trying to do and learn what I can. How do you guys deal pet hair and crunchy towels when you line dry? And that is such a good question, because let me tell you, we don't just grow wonderful gardens here at Ormsby Farm. We grow a lot of dog hair, a lot of it. So do any of y'all have any pointers for line drying for Susan?
Wait, do you line dry yet, Casey?
I have. Now I've been really lazy this past year, and I've done dryer
Yeah.
because I just throw it in there and go. But I have. There was a beautiful clothesline that was here when I bought the homestead, and I used it the very first year, and it was wonderful. It really was really nice to do it in the spring.
Why do you keep saying was? Did you take it down?
No, I just haven't used it this year.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No, I haven't taken it. It's like concreted into the ground.
Well, I know when you first got there, you were just like, destroy all the things that didn't sit well in your heart.
Down.
It must go.
Okay.
When I was first
funny
married.
story, and
Yeah.
because you haven't heard this one, when I
Okay.
first moved here, I hit Alicia and Monica and Lisa at the time up, and I said, y'all, I'm walking the homestead, and there is this toilet right by our chicken coop. And it wasn't hooked up, Andale. It was just sitting there underneath the truck, just visiting. And so Alicia was trying to talk me into having it for nesting box for what did you call it? Butt nuggets?
Oh my gosh.
I think it would have been great to have it be a nesting box for your chickens.
I got rid of it.
Yeah. Well, decorating is to each his own.
It's all subjective.
That's
But,
right.
As for Susan, oh yeah, go ahead, Miss Ann, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say for Susan, when I first got married 45 years ago, I didn't have a dryer. So I did a lot of line drying, and I bought a lot of softener to be able to do that. Our water is terrible here and very hard. So your clothes are very hard and fuzzy and crunchy. And so I can honestly say I don't line dry very often anymore, if at all, because I had my fair share for the first 5 years of marriage. If I got a dryer, that thing is my lint catcher, my softener, and my ironer. So I don't do that as often as I should, probably.
Well, one of our Facebook users has commented. They've shared a link that there's something you can put. Now they're saying they put it in their dryer to catch the dog hair, and she's asking about line drying. But I do know that there are some specific types of they're like a latex ball that you can put in the washing machine, and as it agitates the clothes with the washer, that's going to kind of help catch that. The other thing is I'd like to recommend is because I line dried when we first moved out here, when we first rented our little home before we bought the farm, I would line dry in this little community that we lived in, and I loved it. Just put a little vinegar in your rinse. That will help soften those up a little bit. They won't be quite as crunchy.
I did hear that about the vinegar. I have heard
just
that
a little
one.
bit of vinegar in your rinse water will take care of that. And if you have to, set your washing machine up for an extra rinse because they're crunchy because you have some residual soap in there. So if you will put it on for an extra rinse, let it go through its first rinse, then put it through a second rinse if you can afford that, because I know it's extra water consumption. But if you choose to do the second rinse, that's when you would put a little bit of vinegar in. I mean, just a splash. But if you don't want to do the second rinse, when you're doing your first rinse, put that extra little splash of vinegar in there, let it run through its cycle, and then they should be much softer when you hang them out on the line to dry.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Monica, do you line dry?
I usually do. This year I have not because last year, so my kids don't always like putting their laundry. I don't do all my kids' laundry, okay? Just so anybody that doesn't know, if you're first time here, I have 7 kids still living in my house. When I say kids, I mean people that I've birthed. 2 of them are adults, so I have 2 adult children, and then the rest of them are teenagers and below. And basically everybody except for my 7 and 9-year-old, my 9-year-old pretty much does, but mostly everybody does their own laundry. I am not washing all of my children's clothes anymore. I'm just not. I draw the line at some point because I will if they need me to help them, but they
She draws the line there.
I draw the line there. I'm like, do your own laundry. I'm tired of dealing with your underwear. I'll buy it for you, but you wash it and dry it. So
All of your future daughter-in-laws are thanking you right now. And
yeah,
they
well,
don't even know
for
it.
sure. All my kids know how to do. So I will say that my daughter does not like to use the line because we noticed last year, because we have a pine tree at the end of our line, that some of our laundry were starting to get sap on them as our as our pine trees were like dripping sap. I was like, oh, super. So we noticed some of it. So we haven't used it this year because we started having trouble with that. We also started having trouble with ants, giant ants crawling on our laundry at night. So we would bring in a load of towels that I had dried all day. I would bring them in. And if it was dark or starting to get dark, we started to have ants on our line. I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm bringing large ants into the house where I have 4 people allergic to ants. It's really not a good thing. But typically I do. All that to say, I usually do. This year I haven't. I'm trying to find a way around all my issues. I am the one posting those links, by the way. That is me, the Facebook user that you see.
Well, thank you, Facebook users.
Yes. So I particularly use the one in the dryer. This one in particular, I've used this year because I have been using my dryer, but also for the washer, you have this fur zapper, pet hair remover, you can. And then this right here is Radine. Radine says if you do have a dryer, you can toss them on low air with a damp towel for just a few minutes. They are, good strategies for that. But so there's lots of different things, but I do line dry. My kids hate crunchy towels. When I'm dealing with crunchy towels, I use the vinegar. If I forget the vinegar and they're super crunchy, then what I typically do is I know it sounds really silly, but when I take them down, I like scrunch them in my arms. I'm so stupid when I just say this, but I like take them down and I like scrunch them in my arms and kind of like use them, like shake them and scrunch them down. And then I fold them so that they're maybe not so crunchy. Like, like if you crunch up a piece of paper, you make it softer. So
you can always use it as a batch scratch too.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, the thing is that they're going to just be a little crunchier than normal because you're using that air to dry them. I mean, look, I've line dried my clothing in the fall and the summer. I mean, the winter too. I've done it in the winter. And Eric always asks me, why are you not line drying it? It's only 50 degrees. And I'm like, dude, my fingers freeze. Like, I know it's only 50 degrees, but my hands get cold. So no. But I have done it before, and I take great pleasure when Eric is using a crunchy towel because I've line dried like he's asked me to do.
Well, you don't need to exfoliate when you have one of those crunchy towels.
There was a great idea that was shared in the comments, and I love the thought behind line drying. It's a nod back to the past. Our grandmothers did it, our mothers did it, some of them. And I think it's a wonderful time to just decompress when you're standing out there in nature, putting your clothes up on the line. It's really great. But if you're running into these problems, if you do have a dryer and you find that something is crunchy or you've got the dog hair, you can, like what was suggested, throw them into the dryer. Now, you're not going to be using as much electricity because you're not having to dry everything from scratch. Everything's already scratch, pun intended. Everything's already dry. But if you put in a damp towel, you could put in a damp hand towel, and if you wanted to, you could even do a dilution of some water with some fabric softener, put a washcloth or a couple of sponges or something, so you're going to have that moisture and the softener. Throw those in the dryer with everything that's crunchy and pet haired, and run it for 15 minutes. That way you're not running your dryer for a full hour. 10-15 minutes, the dampness from the washcloth or the hand towel, that's going to soften up everything, and you don't have to have the fabric softener, but it certainly helps. You can tumble those for the 10-15 minutes. It's going to help get all of that hair off of there and hopefully go to your lint trap, and then it's also going to soften up the towels. So I fully appreciate the line drying, but I understand that sometimes you have to have that comfort. It's no fun if everything is scratchy.
Right. It's not fun, but that's kind of a rite of passage where
Right.
that's to be able to use those things.
Well,
And
yeah, and you appreciate things so much more. I mean,
that's right.
we've really had it easy. It just really gives a nod back to yesteryear where you say, you know what? I've got it pretty darn easy.
Yep.
Well,
But
Yep.
I'm gonna say I appreciate my bill a lot more, my electric bill when I'm
That's right.
doing the outside line.
Well,
That's the
you
reason
and
why I
me
did it,
both.
honestly.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm gonna be for real. We wash a lot of laundry here, and so I really did wanted to save money, and that was one of the ways I would do it. Is I would barely ever run my dryer. I
Right.
dry everything on the line when I do. I mean, I just like again, I haven't done it this year either. I've been like Casey, I've just been lazy, and honestly, I hate battling the ants and the sap. And I hate battling my children trying to remind them to put their stuff on the line. Now, I will say that if they do all their own laundry and they get it to the point where it is just needing to be hung up, I will definitely stand out there and hang up laundry with my kids. I'm not heartless, but I will, go hang it up with them and I help them through that whole process because I want my kids to know how to do that from start to finish.
Great.
But there's a certain amount of calming that I physically enjoy hanging laundry. I know it sounds so silly,
oh
but
no, it's great.
No,
I
yeah, it's
really
wonderful.
there's something so soothing about taking your laundry and it's especially on a hot day here in Texas to have that laundry and you're just like hanging it up just to take that moment. It's cool to touch because you've just taken it out of the washer and it's just wet and cold, a little bit cold, and you just put it on it's just wonderful. I mean, there's
That's
something
nice.
about it. And again, I like watching my electric bill become lower as I hang my laundry up. But yeah.
Right. Well, now it's just Worth and I. We're retired, and it's just the two of us. He has one load. He does his own laundry. He has one load, and I have one load a week. So, it's not a big deal anymore.
Oh,
And
that's
isn't
nice.
there like certain times of the year that they say is the best to dry outside? Isn't it the spring? That's like the best time to hang it outside so it doesn't get crunchy? Or am I
Well,
just crazy and thinking
this
something?
this mama is not line drying when it's -50
Yeah.
Right.
because
Spring,
that is a
spring is
whole
relative.
different element of crunchy.
Yes, I would imagine.
That's when your
Spring is
jeans can
relative for Alicia.
stand up on themselves.
Cold and crunchy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the more you have, if you are putting your laundry out on the line, I think that when it's nice and breezy and,
Freezes.
that's probably the best time because you're not going to get that crunch as much as you would if it was just still air. But I don't know. My stuff dries extremely fast in the summer. I mean, like 110 degrees, boop, it's done.
It's dry before you get the second clothespin on there.
Yeah, it's usually dry before the next load is done. And in the fall, I don't have that. Like in the fall, I have to wait. I can't just
Yeah.
put them out one by one. But yeah, it's definitely different. Definitely different. It's fun though. It's fun.
It's one of those things when we moved onto this farm, I was really disheartened that we did not have a clothesline, and I was really sad about it. But now I know why. Because where we live in my demographic area, I have several hog farms within a mile in all 4 directions. I'm not putting my clothes out there
Uh-oh.
with the amount of flies that
Yeah.
we get in this area. But I do have a little temporary one. I have a portable one that I can use out in my summer kitchen. And in the summertime, I do like to sometimes take my laundry out to the summer kitchen after I take it out, and I'll just hang it out in the summer kitchen. That way it doesn't get flies all over it, but I still get a nice enough breeze where I have air lined dried. But it does miss that element. There's something about not just the breeze, but the sunshine on your clothes as they're drying. There's just something about it. If you've never line dried it, it really is a
Yeah.
beautiful thing.
Well, my grandmama used to hang all her shirts and all her sheets and all her pillowcases and everything out on the line. And then she would bring them in and iron them, which what a woman. But her sheets were
Right.
always the best. They were just the best. So
Yeah. There's something about it. I think the more technologically advanced we become, the more we become detached from the process and the appreciation of the process.
yep.
And so we're just go, go, go. And that's one of the reasons why I think it's great that we take the time to line dry. Like Monica says, it's a peaceful process. And I'm the same way with doing dishes. I have a dishwasher. I much prefer to have that quiet time of feeling the water, listening to the water, washing my dishes by hand. Everything is quiet around me. I can look out the window and, watch the squirrels play, whatever. It's so much nicer than just shoving it all in and then push play, push start, and then walk away and go do something else. It's almost like a I want to make sure I use the right word. It's almost like a commune feeling of just coming together with the element of the water and its sight
Right.
and sound, and we've become so detached. And so I think it's important, especially as we look into this homesteading life, that we take the time to just detach a little bit, get back to basics, and do some of those things that were done in prior generations. I think it helps us become a little bit more grounded.
Right, right. And especially now that Alicia has gotten me and Monica watching Little House on the Prairie,
Yeah.
you go back to, oh, I need to start washing dishes by hand, or I need to start doing my clothes by hand, that kind of stuff. And then of course you forget. Can I get an amen, Monica, on
Yeah,
that?
then you live in reality and you're like, no.
Right.
Yeah, for real.
Hey, Sandy, by the way. Hey, hey.
Yeah, so I wanted to say really quick that so now it is just Miss Ann had to duck out, and I wanted to acknowledge that because she goes over to her channel, and I put the link in there. Also, you can go back and click our Linktree link to find out all of our YouTube links. So you can go to any one of our YouTube channels, and Miss Ann Dale, her link is in there now. And if you go over there, you can go to her over to her channel, go to her place right after we end here. She has a Tuesday. So on Tuesdays when she's with us here,
And
she
it's
will have to
wonderful.
dip out a little bit. But if you go over there and chat with her, oh my word, it is just so nice to sit there and listen to Ann and just chat with her over there too. So when you're finished with us here, go on YouTube and chat with Miss Ann Dale over there on her channel, because it's just a nice little time. You just feel like you're sitting with a friend.
Yeah, grab a little cup of tea or something and just enjoy that time. That is
Oh
great.
yeah, for sure.
But now
So
that she's left us, yeah, go ahead, Monica. I'm
do
sorry.
we have any more subscriber call outs, or we have time for one?
It's time for
Do-do-do-do.
Subscriber comment call out. Pew pew pew. I will say that this was kind of a good segue. We were just talking about getting back to doing
The
laundry by hand and the basics, and this one's about rainwater. Monica, do you want to take this one, or Alicia? Who wants to take this one?
I do not use rainwater for cooking or drinking, so I have no knowledge. So Alicia, would you like to share some knowledge
Well,
on this?
I
I was
don't
about to say I don't either. So
I don't necessarily either. But I chose this
would like
one.
to. I would like to
I would too.
start doing more of
We
that.
do have a big
We'll say
IBC
that.
tote, and we do have everything set up so that we can start collecting our own rainwater so that we can water the animals and also use it for our garden. And Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona, she says she has 5 rain barrels that
Mhm.
she utilizes. So that's great. It's something that I want to start getting into. But I chose this one because it did have good post reach. A lot of people paid attention to this one, and she got 20 comments on it. So it's something that I'm definitely wanting to get into here on my homestead. I think one of the
So
most important things is you have to make sure that you're either in an area where it's okay for you to collect your rainwater, because for some reason there is a lot of Uncle Sam overreach. But B, if you do have that overreach, just be creative in where you place your catchment system so it's not visible to people driving down the street, if that
So
makes sense.
I was going to say that there's places online you can go look, but I'm pretty sure it's actually not illegal in any of the states. I think it's actually legal depending on where you're. It's legal. I think it's legal. I'm almost positive. I just looked this up recently that it's actually legal in all 50 states. It's just regulated on how much and how you do it in some of the states. So it's regulated in some states, but I'm pretty sure it's not actually illegal. We have 6 of those IBC totes, 2 of them on the sides of our house that catch the water, and then 4 of them where we store the water for our garden. So we do use water catchment systems. As a matter of fact, we have several videos on how to attach them and even how to attach how we do it, not how everybody does it, but how we attach them, but also how we use them to, we have like a hose coming out of ours. And Eric actually made one of those attachments to put onto the tote so that it comes out into a hose. Sorry, brain fart here. It comes out into the hose that I can use for my bins. And I actually have these giant bins in my garden that I I just use to dip into, because I locally water, like I just water at the base of all my stuff. And so I just dip my little bucket in there and I go through and water all my plants. But I use 4 IBC totes full over the summer. And usually that'll last me 3 months in the summer for watering my garden. This year it did not, because it was so dry.
Right.
It just didn't work this year for me. But in years past, I've gotten away with only watering my garden with collected rainwater from 6 total IBC totes. And then whenever it rained in the summertime, which it doesn't usually, but whatever rain we collected, I was able to make it 2 years ago from, I want to say, April all the way to September. And at the very end, Eric was like, Monica, just use the hose. And I'm like trying to squeak through. And I really wanted to make
Issues
it all the
happening there
way.
with her microphone. I'm hoping she'll come back.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back now. You slipped away a couple times.
Yeah, that's weird. Okay. So, but yeah, I'm hoping that next year I can use my rainwater for all the goodness that I usually use it for. So
Now, I know Dawn was asking specifically about for drinking and cooking with that rainwater. And
Sandy made a good point. I wanted to bring it back up. Let me see. Right there. I would boil it before drinking. So that's definitely one thing that I was definitely going to want to say. But also having certain little gadgets around. A lot of, homesteaders talk about the Berkey. To have the Berkey. Alicia, you have a video on kind of like a knockoff Berkey, right?
Well, yeah, I made my own Berkey system, and then I used the Berkey filters.
It's like a worky.
It's a worky. Right now, there are some holdups on actually getting those filters, the Berkey actual filters. There's something going on right now. But there are other filters that you can get. You can get other ceramic or charcoal filters, and you can set it up relatively inexpensive where you could get that water out of your rain catchment system, put it into this makeshift water filtration system. You can use the stainless steel pots, or you could even use 5-gallon buckets, and then you'd let that filter through. And then I would still do what Sandy says, is once it filtered through, I would still boil it. You don't want to take a chance of somebody getting a little bug or something.
And what is that? There's a straw also that everybody is talking about, that again,
life straw.
Yes, that's another one. And y'all, anytime, for the listeners, anytime we talk about certain things like the Berkey or the straw or anything, you could always go to our QR code that's on the screen. Go ahead and scan it, and we have a Amazon storefront that you can go, and I will try to remember to put all of these different stuff in there. It costs you no more money. It just helps out our podcast. So we always have stuff that we recommend or talk about in that link. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see if not only here in the radio show, but also, she did get 20 comments on there. I haven't had the chance to read through all of them, but if this is something that interests you, you can go back to that post. It was posted just a couple of days ago, so I'm going to say the 24th of September, and you can read through those comments to see if there's anything you can either add to or glean from if using rainwater is something that interests you. And I do want to say that, Two Doves, Bees and Gardens, they did say, they're not going to have any luck with anything if they have another year like they did. And I agree. We're in a drought up here in the Midwest as well. And I didn't realize how much until I went for a walk the other day. And our little creek where I take my grandchildren to go, we go in search of the beaver dams. And we love doing that. It's usually a very active flowing creek. In fact, we even inner tubed down it a couple of decades ago. It is bone dry. There is no water in our creek. And that is something that we've always relied on here. If we were in a situation where we needed water, if our well went dry or our power went down for an extended period of time, we always had that in the back of our mind. We can just walk down to the creek, fill up a bucket, run it through our Berkey system, boil it on a campfire, and we would have water. I was really disheartened to see that it is absolutely dry. And so I'm not
Oh, that's
panicking,
terrible.
but it makes me a little concerned that if something happened, I don't have access to water like thought I had before. And it's not the beavers. The beavers haven't dammed up the whole creek. We just haven't had enough rain.
Yeah.
And that's been, I think that's been all over too. I mean, we've gotten such hot temperatures this year and not as much rain to kind of, counterbalance. I think that is a thing that you mentioned, Monica, is that you were able to use all of that rain catchment water the previous years, but not this year. And I think that shows, especially our garden, our tomatoes normally are thriving through November, and I'm harvesting tomatoes, but this year it was a one and done month because it was so hot, and it just could not get enough water to survive. So I mean, that's terrible to hear about that creek.
Yeah. But you know what? Speaking of rain, speaking of heat, speaking of the creek, I'm going to get ready. I'm going to go out for another walk. I'm going to survey the land, see how things are going, because we're out of time for our show today. It's time for me to hit the road. And I know all of you great people out there listening, you all have your chores that you need to tend to as well and get on with your life. But we so appreciate you spending your hour with us here this morning.
Yes,
you
we
didn't get
do.
a chance to listen to the podcast yesterday. It's available. All of our podcasts are available on all podcast platforms. Go back and listen to the podcasts.
And exciting news, Alicia. We are on iHeartRadio now. This happened a couple days ago. We're real fancy now. We're on the iHeartRadio.
We're like doubly fancy.
Ooh, I like it.
Nice. Well, make sure you guys go listen to the podcasts. Come back and join us next Tuesday for yet another episode of Hey Y'all Hey, our little radio show here for you. And we love having you. And thank you to Ann Dale for joining us for the first time. She's going to be with us for season 4 for the rest of the season. So make sure you tune in and listen as well. She is a great addition to our team, and we're so appreciative that she was able to join us. So until we see you next week, take care of yourself, take care of each other, have a blessed week, and we'll see you here next time on Hey Y'all Hey.
Hey, Monica, did you know it's now even easier to listen to Round the Hay Bale podcast?
What? Really? How easy?
That's right. All you have to do is say, Alexa, play Round the Hay Bale podcast.
Playing Round the Hay Bale podcast on Apple Music.
Ooh, we fancy. Tune in to Round the Hay Bale every Monday at 9 a.m. Central.